Welcome to Breakup Cheater. Let's dive into today's confession. My name is Nathan Collier, and I was 35 years old when everything I believed about love, loyalty, and family unraveled. Not with a crash, but with a cold, quiet precision I never saw coming. To the outside world, Elena Brooks and I were the couple everyone admired. I had built a stable and respected career in cybersecurity consulting. Elena owned a boutique interior design firm that catered to high-end clients. She had that rare mix of beauty and brilliance. Elegant, articulate, the kind of woman who could own a room without raising her voice. We had been together for 3 years and engaged for 8 months. Our wedding was scheduled for the first Saturday in May. And it wasn't just any wedding, it was a production. 200 guests, a cocktail hour beneath crystal chandeliers, custom calligraphy on the invitations, people flying in from both coasts. Elena micromanaged every detail. She called the theme Legacy in Luxury. I didn't complain. Seeing her so passionate about the planning made me happy. My parents, Gregory and Elaine Collier, had been married nearly 40 years. My father was a semi-retired architect, charismatic, confident, the kind of man who shook hands firmly and still wore cufflinks to dinner. Growing up, he was my hero. At the rehearsal dinner, he stood up and raised his glass to me and said, "You picked a good one, son." I believed him. Elena seemed to adore him. I remember once she joked, "Your dad's got that old Hollywood charm. Like Cary Grant in a cashmere coat." I laughed it off. Our families blended seamlessly. My mother and Elena became fast friends. Her cousin Mia was her maid of honor. My college roommate Damien, a music producer turned wedding DJ, was running the sound and visuals for the reception. Everything was in place. Or so I thought. The night before the wedding, we held the rehearsal dinner in a private dining room at an upscale venue downtown. Elena wore a forest green silk gown. My father wore a charcoal gray tailored suit, classic as always. But something was off. I noticed it when I was chatting with Damien at the bar. Elena and my father were standing by the windows, locked in a hushed conversation. It ended abruptly when they spotted me. Her smile came too fast. My father lifted his glass too slowly. Damien noticed too. He didn't say anything, but I saw how his expression changed. How he stared at them with narrowed eyes, ice melting in his untouched drink. I chalked it up to nerves. Everyone was tired. Wedding stress, right? Still, something about that moment lingered. Elena barely ate. My father kept checking his watch even though he had nowhere to be. And Mia, Elena's cousin, pulled me aside later to help gather the gifts. As we stacked boxes into the car, she asked, "Do you and your dad talk often?" "Yeah," I said. "He's been helping me with vendor calls for the last few weeks." She nodded slowly, like she wanted to say something else but decided against it. Later that night I went back to my hotel. Elena was staying in her bridal suite. I had reserved a corner suite for my father and me to share, one last father-son night before the big day. He brought a bottle of aged Japanese whiskey and a pile of place cards we needed to sort for table seating. We sat on opposite beds, laptops open, sipping whiskey, chatting quietly. By midnight everything was finalized. "We good?" he asked. "Yeah," I replied. "Just tired." "You should be," he said with a proud smile. "Tomorrow's the best day of your life." He said he was going to get one last drink at the bar. I turned in for the night. I didn't know then that it would also be the worst day of my life. The next morning he went to the gym. Left his phone charging beside the bed. I wasn't snooping, but when it lit up with a message preview, I glanced at it out of reflex. "Last night was electric. I can still feel your hands on me." From Elena. Froze. My heart slammed in my chest. Had to be a mistake. Prank. A misdirected message. Right. There was no passcode on his phone. I opened the thread. And I wish I hadn't. It wasn't a single text. It was dozens. Hundreds. Some sweet. Some sickeningly explicit. Photos. Timestamps from nights when Elena had told me she was visiting Mia. One of the messages read, If Nathan ever finds out, we lose everything. I stared at the screen, hollow and shaking. Then I did what I was trained to do. Backed everything up. Screenshots, chat exports, metadata. I sent it all to a secure, encrypted cloud drive I normally use for client security audits. And then I wiped all traces from his phone. When he returned, towel around his neck, calm and unbothered, I was already dressed. "Run, help clear your head?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "You ready for today?" I smiled thinly. "I am now." I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I didn't call off the wedding. I rewrote the ending. By noon, I had compiled a digital dossier. Texts, photos, timelines. All organized into a tight 3-minute slideshow. Then I called Damien. He was prepping sound and video at the reception venue. "I've got something personal I want to play," I told him. "A tribute." There was a pause. Then I told him the truth. He didn't ask for more. He just said, "Send it. I've got you." I also made something else. A QR code linked to the video. Printed 200 cards with our wedding monogram and the words, "A special surprise from the bride and groom. Scan at the reception." At 4:15 p.m., everything was in place. I handed the cards to the ushers and greeted guests calmly. Elena arrived beaming in her white gown. Hair perfect, makeup flawless, her whole face lit up with false joy. She hugged my mother like she was her daughter. I watched quietly, holding the truth in my pocket. We walked to the altar together. The officiant asked if we were ready. Said yes. Elena read her vows with tears in her eyes. Then it was my turn. I took her hands and let them go. "I'm sorry," I said. "Before we finish, I need to show everyone what love doesn't look like." Confusion rippled through the guests. I nodded to Damien. The projector screen came alive. First, a slideshow of Elena and me, smiling in Paris, laughing at Pike Place. Then it cut to her text, her photos, her lies, the whispers. Elena covered her mouth. My father tried to stand. "Turn it off," he barked. He was ignored. Elena's voice played through a voicemail. "I know it's wrong, but when I'm with you, I forget everything else, even Nathan." My mother's face drained of color. Mia wept. Elena turned to me in horror. "Nathan, please. You'll have time to explain," I said, stepping away. "Just not to me." I turned to my father. "You don't get to call me son anymore." Then I walked down the aisle, past the silence, past the wreckage. The wedding was over. And so were they. By nightfall it was viral. Screenshots and footage circulated online. I never posted it. I didn't have to. A week later, my father was quietly removed from his firm's advisory board after a local journalist dug into a financial conflict of interest, one involving the same hotel he met Elena at. My mother packed her things and moved in with her sister. She never spoke to him again. 2 weeks later, she filed for divorce. She left me one voicemail. "You handled it with more strength than I ever could have. I'm proud of you." Kept that one. Elena called, texted, begged. I never answered. Her final message. "I still love you. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here." I deleted it. Without anger. Without pain. Just clarity. I left Seattle. Moved to a quieter town. Took a remote job. No big declarations. No bitterness. Just peace. I started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. I wasn't looking to replace anyone. I was just looking for something real. People still ask me, "Why didn't you lose it?" I tell them the truth. I did lose something. The illusion that trust is inherited. That love guarantees loyalty. From now on, I look for actions, not words. Character, not charm. Some people collapse under betrayal. Me. I walked out stronger than I walked in. That was the real ceremony. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, truth doesn't ruin relationships. Lies do.